A phenomenal, legendary actor passes away. An onslaught of music removed from TikTok. Apple's next big thing hits retailers. Yet another AI image generator. Some updates on the Apple Watch fiasco. Everything involving PlayStation's recent announcements. And more crackdowns in the world of streaming services. This and a whole lot more taking over the headlines of the past week and a few days. I'm Jason Greenwald, and this is The Fresh Wire. Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another episode of The Fresh Wire on a Friday night. It's currently 10:06 p.m., February 2nd, 2024. Hope everyone had a fantastic January as we near the end of the NFL season. Well, it hasn't been obvious. I am a big Miami Dolphins fan, so we all get to suffer every now and then. And it's A-okay, but also not. But we're just going to get right into it and try to be efficient, especially because there's a whole lot have happened over the past week and a few days. Normally I would do these on Tuesday night, but I've decided a change of heart, as some may say. I'm going to do these on Friday nights from now on. More of a primetime situation. I feel more available, give myself a little more time to work with, and I'm just going to do them Friday nights from now on. So this episode, I'm going to try to be efficient, even though there's a whole lot of stuff that happened. And unfortunately, when someone, an actor or actress passes away, that has to be the first thing I talk about because it's, to me, the most important topic. So I'm going to get into that. Carl Weathers, the actor that took part in the Rocky franchise as Apollo Creed and recently in Disney's The Mandalorian, has passed away at 76. He passed away earlier today. His manager has confirmed. He also starred in fantastic films such as Predator from 1987 and one of my favorite films of all time, Happy Gilmore, which starred Adam Sandler early in his career. Recently, he was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor for his work involving the Star Wars series The Mandalorian. He's been in numerous different films across the decades that he's been taking part in the entertainment industry. Combat Carl in Toy Story 4, sometimes appearing in the show Arrested Development, Street Justice, Colony, The Shield, Chicago Justice, Brothers, and films Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Death Hunt, and The Comebacks. So it's obviously very sad. He was a big part of the Rocky franchise, playing Nemesis turned ally, Apollo Creed. And it's, of course, it's very sad. Very, very, very sad. He's survived by his ex-wife, Mary Ann, and their 2 sons. Later in his career, he continued to land smaller roles in TV, procedurals, directing some episodes. And I think he directed an episode of Season 3 of The Mandalorian. His first Emmy nomination back in 2021 was for The Mandalorian. And yeah, for two episodes of the Star Wars spinoff, he stepped into the director's chair. Previously, he even hosted a showing of Saturday Night Live. And yeah, one interesting about him was that before any of this, he actually signed with the Oakland Raiders in the NFL as a free agent, playing in 8 games in the NFL as a linebacker across 2 seasons. Oakland Raiders now being the new and improved, yet still can't achieve a playoff win, Las Vegas Raiders. But he had a fantastic career, and he will be deeply missed. Happy Gilmore is one of my favorite films, and I absolutely loved The Mandalorian. So this is obviously very, very sad, and he will be deeply, deeply missed. So we're going to jump in, and quite a bit has happened, across everything. That's what happens when you delay a podcast for a little over a week, or just a few days, rather. And I'm just going to be brief because some of these are actually pretty crazy. For example, earlier today, it was confirmed that Jim Carrey will return for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. The film that's set to open in theaters at the end of this year, December 20th, has now confirmed that he will reprise his role as the mad scientist with the formidable facial hair. Now, this is, a little surprising, but maybe not, because I obviously, spoilers, so I won't say what happened in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but, this could be a bit of a surprise for many people that are anticipating maybe he'll come back, because I think he said, he was considering retiring from the industry. He's been through several decades of phenomenal performances across the board. And this is just, in my opinion, this is one of his better ones. I've liked the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, the first one and the second one. More so the second one. I feel like they got a little more playful with that one. With Shadow taking a big role with this, the third. I'm pretty excited for it, and yeah, can't wait to see how that goes. What I don't really care anywhere near as much on seeing how this goes, but I do have to mention it because it's actually a pretty big deal. Another thing that was announced earlier today was something involving Joe Rogan. So if you don't know, for the past few years, he's had an exclusive deal with Spotify for his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, where it was exclusive to Spotify in 2020. Sources confirming it was worth more than $200 million over 3.5 years, ranking as the most popular show on the platform for the past 3 years. And, well, they've linked a new multi-year partnership because, it's 2024, so 3.5 years. And this new deal is said to be worth up to $250 million. But for now, or it seems like now, it'll be available on other platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube. From what I read somewhere, and I think an official with Spotify confirmed this was the last exclusive podcast that Spotify had. And now it is no more, as they revise their strategy to go away from exclusivity to broader distribution, which the strategy kicked off last year. The Wall Street Journal first reported this renewal with Rogan. I don't have to say how controversial he is. You could just find that information on your own. I think if I dive into it a little bit too much, it's not going to end well, and I'll probably have this podcast become explicit, even if I don't curse. So Spotify said it'll work closely with Rogan and his teams to, quote, to continue to maximize the audience of the show across platforms, unquote. Spotify will handle distribution ad sales, and Rogan will receive a guaranteed minimum fee from Spotify as well as a cut of advertising revenue. So for this to go back on, for this to be on YouTube is obviously a big deal. Again, he's produced over 2,200 episodes, averaging 2 to 3 hours in length. There's a lot. He's talked with a lot of different people, but of course, in recent years, with the COVID-19 pandemic and other controversies, he's gotten much more controversial, much more divided. I never really watched his episodes ever. I don't know. I never really got into, I've just been with the news. I don't really listen to podcasts outside of, news-related ones. So, but I can imagine this is a huge deal, especially because this deal is worth more than reportedly what his previous one was, where he was exclusive to Spotify. So, yeah, huge deal. What's also a huge deal is big music removal from TikTok. Artists from Universal Music Groups, which are a lot, in recent days has had their music removed from the beautiful little social media platform. There's been some reactions across the board. The official versions of, like, for example, Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, Lana Del Rey, they're all gone now. Taylor Swift, like I said, Billie Eilish, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Daddy Yankee. You can't forget Daddy Yankee. The deal expired Wednesday, so now anything that involved their music is gone, at least officially. Maybe, if it's like sped up a bit. But I can't even say if it's sped up a bit, it should be fine or A-okay. I can't even say that because I'm starting to see, artists release songs and then they release like 6 different iterations of them so that the copyright systems and bots that go through all the social media platforms can be like, oh, this one's sped up just like it is on Spotify. Because you're probably not going to listen to it sped up unless you're into that for some reason. You're probably not going to listen to a sped up or with reverb or anything else just casually on like Spotify or whatnot or Apple Music. It adds to the experience for like TikTok videos. So now those copyright bots, they're going all in now, and it's not great. Obviously, I don't own UMG, so I don't know if I have much of a say in it. But of course, less content creation and a company just having this full control is pretty selfish and a little bit annoying, especially because it's detrimental. It deeply affects the, existence of TikTok. And what will probably also deeply affect TikTok and other social media platforms is the upcoming NFL big game, the Super Bowl. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but yeah, the Super Bowl, not just the big game. And it's already, the plan's been set for the two teams, Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers. And unfortunately, that's not great because I'm not a fan of either team. And Miami Dolphins were removed round one. So that's great. Buffalo Bills were also eliminated at some point, so at least there's that. But I really don't want Chiefs to win. So if you want to know my opinion, go San Francisco 49ers. But if there's any sort of entertainment updates beforehand, I still got another episode to go. Japan's embassy, though, has issued a statement about Taylor Swift and the Super Bowl. You might wonder why. Well, remember, there's this whole Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift romance going on, and it's, it looks like, oh man, Taylor Swift, she could be at the Super Bowl. However, the day before the Super Bowl, which will be in Las Vegas, Taylor Swift has a concert appearance for her Eras Tour on February 10th in Tokyo. So this is obviously, a big deal. And now, you're wondering, how's this all going to work? Time zones, is she willing to do it for his big man, Travis Kelce? So the Embassy of Japan had to step in and give a statement. The Japan's embassy in Washington, D.C., they gave a statement, quote, "The Embassy of Japan in the United States is aware of recent media reports concerning the steps Taylor Swift will need to take to travel from Tokyo after her concert on February 10th to Las Vegas in time to watch the Kansas City Chiefs play in Super Bowl 58, unquote. And then it goes on to saying, the 17-hour time difference, 12-hour flight. The embassy can, quote, "The embassy can confidently speak now to say if she departs Tokyo in the evening after a concert, she should comfortably arrive in Las Vegas before the Super Bowl begins," unquote. So, woof. All right. So there's potential, but I don't know if this is going to, I don't know if it's going to happen. Also, there's a huge other thing that I am wanting to, I don't know if I really want to get into it, but there's a AI deepfake situation that happened with Taylor Swift and x/tour.com. I'm not going to get into it because it's kind of creepy, and I will say it is insane that an entire musician's name can just be blocked off from a search, because when you don't have a great content moderation team when you did 2 years ago, wow, the truth hurts, and it's not great for when it does. All right, so that's the entertainment. We're going to jump right into technology because, my goodness, a lot happened. But we're going to start with one of the big ones, and it involves Apple. Apple. Ugh. As a Android user, it's like Apple, everything they're doing is, anti-competitive, anti-consumer, antitrust with iMessage and Beeper. My goodness. But they released something big. The next big thing, the Apple Vision Pro headset has hit U.S. stores today. And it's, their first new product in 7 years. Around 200 people lined up in Apple's New York City flagship store. CEO Tim Cook welcoming them in at 8 a.m. For them to release $3,500 headset. Keep that in mind. $3,500. And it only has 256 gigabytes of storage. My goodness. $200 travel case, as a owner of the MetaQuest 3 VR headset, that was $500. That was also not cheap. Of course, I wish it was like the MetaQuest 2 headset when it started at $299. Fantastic value. Almost impulse back in 2020. I bought it in 2021, had a good deal, and I've liked it for the 2 years I used it. Now I'm on to the Quest 3, and I recommend it if you are interested in VR. It is still fantastic. If you want to dip your toes, the Quest 2, though, I would also recommend to a degree because it's still back at the $200, I think $250 now. So, I recommend either one. I know it's Meta and Facebook. I hate Facebook too. Recently, Mark Zuckerberg was testifying in Congress about kids' online safety, and you can imagine how that went. In other words, not pretty and, very political, so I won't get into it, but you can do your research on your own. Now, of course, the Apple Vision Pro, from what I've read, is a much more seamless experience, a much more quality experience than the MetaQuest 3, which I think reviewers decided to say it was one of the best VR headsets around, the MetaQuest 3, especially at its price point. Dare I say, much better value than the MetaQuest Pro, which I think has been $1,000. But, $3,500, that's rough. Also, you super duper need an iPhone and probably the whole Apple experience. Apparently, There were some recent demos where you were able to see like clips of Star Wars on Disney Plus sitting inside a virtual representation of Luke Skywalker's land speeder vehicle, and even an underwater scene from Avatar 2 in 3D. Because I think Disney Plus is going to support 3D films using the Vision Pro. My thing is, why isn't there a Disney Plus app on the MetaQuest headsets? You could have already done that for years. But then I realized Apple and Disney love each other. Sincerely. You look at anything involving the Apple Watch, and you're going to find a Mickey Mouse watch face for the Apple Watch, but nothing like that, at least as far as I know, at least officially, for Android Wear OS or Wear OS watches or the Samsung Galaxy watches. Nothing like that. I would have loved to try something like that out, but super duper copyright. So, not that great. But what is great, at least finally, is what's been going on with NVIDIA. They recently unveiled their new super GPUs. You know, they had let's say a RTX 4080, very high end, very powerful, very expensive. And then they released the 4080 Super, which was cheaper, a little bit better in performance, and overall something that's easier to recommend, albeit still extremely expensive. It's like $800, $1,000 still. That's insane. That is a lot of money for a GPU, especially nowadays. Like, come on. I mean, they're fantastic in performance, but like, we need cheaper options. And NVIDIA, possibly, is hearing. Something they haven't done in over 4 years was launch a graphics card starting at under $200, and it's looking like, spotted by news outlet Tech Power Up, NVIDIA partners like Gigabyte have begun officially announcing a 6 gigabyte version of the old RTX 3050, and it's not exciting, it's not new tech, but hey, it ought to be better than whatever slim pickings are available in under $200. And at under $200, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not going to be very powerful, and if you can splurge just a little bit more, you're going to get noticeably better performance. But if you're on a very tight budget and you need like a smaller form factor GPU anyway, well, I guess we'll have to wait for the reviews for that one. Onwards to some other big news involving streaming services. A little more local one, but it seems like Netflix is finally getting in to doing a price hike for subscribers in Florida. You might wonder, another price hike? Now, it's an interesting one. 5% increase on subscribers' monthly bills starting in mid-February. People have started to receive emails in Florida suggesting that it's going to take effect soon. I did not receive one because I canceled it 2 months ago. There you go. It's attributed to the state's communications services tax, which has been in effect for 2 years and has already been charged by Hulu and Disney+. Now, as far as I know, I just recently canceled Max. Hallelujah. And there's been taxes charged on Max as well, so it's kind of weird. You see these services that say, oh, $9.99 or $19.99, and then it's like, oh, wow, $23. Okay. Oh, taxes. Lame. But yeah, it's kicking in hard now. Also, not sure why they're starting it now. They did not specify, as far as I know. But another thing that's going to be nationally worse is involving Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. They've said they're starting to crack down on password sharing starting, I think it's March 14th. They sent an email to subscribers Wednesday. The company said it will start, quote, adding limitations on sharing your account outside of your household, unquote, beginning that day. Hulu's user agreement, along with Disney Plus and ESPN Plus, explicitly prevents users from impersonating someone else by using their username or password. And it seems like the last time they were updated was January 25th, so just days ago. It's unclear if this language was added to the agreements right then and there for Disney Plus and ESPN Plus. This move was hinted at by Bob Iger, Disney CEO, back in August, who said the company planned to address this issue, well, 2024, which is now. He's expected to speak on Disney's fiscal first quarter earnings February 7th, which could shed some light into this whole ordeal that Disney is planning. It comes as Netflix had a very successful password sharing crackdown a while back, and last week, Netflix announced it had a record number of subscribers as of the fourth quarter. Well, I can tell you, I'm not one of them. Heck yeah. If you can find your movies, don't have too many streaming services. They add up. They're all going up in price. Consolidate wherever you can. If you're interested in something but it's not out yet, cancel the service and come right back to it. It's okay. Netflix allows you to keep your data for up to 10 months after you cancel it. So that's an option. It's kind of like pausing it, but you got a lot of time. What doesn't have a lot of time are the cache links in Google search. They're officially being retired. Now, what is a cache linked? It let you see a web page as Google sees it, their bot or crawl bot, useful in a range of different situations. I think I used it a few times to circumvent around school proxies, grade school proxies. But now, as internet reliability has improved, Google claims it is less necessary. So, yeah. It historically let you view a web page as Google sees it, useful for reasons including being able to see a page struggling to load because it loads through Google servers rather than the websites. SEO professionals could use it to debug their sites or even keep tabs on competitors. And it was an enormously helpful news gathering tool, giving reporters the ability to see exactly what information a company has added or removed from that site, and maybe to see details that they've been trying to scrub from the web. Of course, also a great alternative to VPN if a site is blocked in your region. Luckily, I don't have to worry about that as of now. You never know with state legislators nowadays. Again, that's very political, so I won't talk about it. The removal of Google's cache links has been taking place gradually over the past couple of months. I think I've noticed every now and then that a website will now not have like a cached link option. Like if I do end up with a news article, it's like, oh, it disappeared. Accidentally put up and now it's gone. Although the cache links are only now being discontinued, writing's been on the wall. Early 2021, Google developer relations engineer said the cache view was a, quote, basically unmaintained legacy feature, unquote. And it kind of felt like that. Every time I used it, for the very rare times I wanted to or needed to, it did kind of feel like that. So, doesn't sound like Google has plans to replace it, but it's hoped that Google could add links to the Internet Archive that could instead be used to show a web page has changed over time. No promises, the person cautioned. Quote, we have to talk to them, see how it all might go. Involves people well beyond me, but I think it would be nice all around, unquote. Absolutely, I agree. And let's talk about a little more about Google. They have now introduced image generation for their Bard chatbot for AI, finally catching up to what ChatGPT Plus and every other AI generation service has been attempting to do with their own ways, like Midjourney or ChatGPT or DALL-E 3. So now you can prompt to generate photos using Google's Imagen 2 text-to-image model. Bard, now powered by Google's Gemini Pro large language model, was always going to have it. However, it was assumed its more powerful iteration, the Gemini Ultra model, would have to utilize it, which I think is going to cost a monthly subscription, just like ChatGPT Plus has been achieving with its DALL-E 3 integration. Now, as I mentioned earlier, AI image generation has been under hot water because of a lot of different reasons, stealing artists' images without credit, and of course the Taylor Swift x/Twitter.com situation that I, again, will not talk about. So, yeah, pretty good stuff. Competition should always be good, and I'm glad that it is. Unfortunately, sometimes competition is not good, and when one company does something, others respond. Every time Apple does something big, companies think, oh, let's remove the headphone jack unnecessarily. Or just, a lot of things involving that, including removing optical drives from MacBooks. Apple declared the last MacBook Pro that had an optical drive obsolete. It hasn't been on sale for more than 7 years, but it just goes to show how times have changed. I remember having a laptop. It wasn't technically mine, it was my sister's, but I used it a lot because she moved on to a newer one and she gave me an old one. The screen was kind of borked, but I plugged it into a TV and it had a disk drive. It was pretty nice. I think that built-in DVD drive is pretty cool. But now it is no more. If you're wondering what Apple considers obsolete, their support page on the topic says, quote, products are considered obsolete when Apple stopped distributing them for sale more than 7 years ago, which is pretty accurate. Unquote. Quote, Apple discontinues all hardware service for obsolete products, and service providers cannot order parts for obsolete products. Mac laptops may be eligible for an extended battery-only repair for up to 10 years from when the product was last distributed for sale, subject to parts availability. So again, they stopped selling this iteration October 2016, available as a budget option back then. And the last version of macOS that for the device, for the laptop, was released back in 2020. So, although, to be fair, older versions of macOS, just like, Windows 8.1 and Windows 7 used to, continued to get security updates. Just not the, latest and greatest cool little features. It was controversial at the time, but now it seems Apple was just jumping the gun, and optical drives have virtually disappeared from internal laptops and, yeah, to a degree, internal computers. I do, however, have an external disk drive. It's a 4K Blu-ray one. Again, it's a gray area, but I think I mentioned already, so I don't care. I have ripped some 4K Blu-rays, to archive them and to watch them, just in case the discs, have disc rot, which can definitely happen. It's already happening with some CDs. So disk drives can be pretty cool, especially ones where they can rip the discs or burn discs. So, it's pretty cool to have one, and their 4K Blu-ray ones are like just under $100 or something. That's how much I paid for mine. And I would recommend it if you're like a data hoarder like me. But if you're not, then it's okay. Also, a little update on the Apple Watch situation. It seems like Apple will not license the patents by Masimo despite the import ban on the Apple Watch. Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, has implied there's no intention to license the blood oxygen detection to end the import ban. Masimo has been embroiled in a patent lawsuit that resulted in the import ban, and Apple, to continue sales, opted to just disable the sensor rather than any other course of action. Apple CEO Tim Cook has told CNBC that Apple is focused on appeals, but that the company, implying the company's no intention to license Masimo's patents. This wasn't really said publicly beforehand, but now you can, safely say this was implied. So I had to say, safely say it's possible. The CEO of Masimo has earlier said the company is willing to settle with Apple, but no conversation has started at this point. Now it's clear Apple does not have any intention to start that conversation or be part of it. Luckily, this doesn't affect me because I don't have an Apple Watch. But for the people that were interested in one, I'm sorry. This is a stupid situation, and I hope it does get resolved as soon as possible. To literally have an entire sensor as part of the watch itself and to even, consider selling it at the same price, only for this to happen, is just stupid. It's stupid, and I hope it gets resolved because it's just ridiculous. Now we are on to the gaming. We got a few topics here and there, and we're going to start off with the PlayStation State of Play. A few days ago, they had their first State of Play event for 2024. Over 40 minutes of gameplay and updates for games on PlayStation 5 and a surprise one on PC were shown off. A closer look at Death Stranding 2 by Hideo Kojima, now called Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. And yeah, it looks absolutely ridiculous. It's going to star some great people, and I never got around to playing the first one. I think I have the first one thanks to Epic Games giving them out on PC a while back. They have a thing where they give away a free game like every week if you use their PC game launcher, which I already have to because Fortnite and Rocket League and Fall Guys. And they've given away some pretty good games that, normally cost like a lot of money, like $50, $60, maybe even $70, and they just gave them away. And he also revealed that he's working on an action espionage game. Sounds a little familiar. It's a new IP for PlayStation, and like many of Kojima Productions projects, the company he owns, Kojima Productions, it'll attempt to blur the line between video game and film. There's no title for it just yet. Another big thing was a remaster for hit PS4 game Until Dawn. It's coming to PlayStation 5 and PC later this year. They showed off enhanced graphics, and developer Ballistic Moon was handling the project. There was another trailer for Capcom's Dragon's Dogma 2, which is set to release March 22nd, and a big Sonic game reveal, Sonic X Shadow Generations. Reportedly, it's an enhanced remaster of Sonic Generations with new content featuring the one and only Shadow the Hedgehog. It featured the same levels from the original Sonic Generations, which launched for, I think, PS3, Xbox 360, and I think the 3DS back in 2011, with new levels as with Shadow taking the lead. is coming to virtually every console autumn this year. PS4, PS5, all the Xboxes from one and newer, PC, and that's right, Nintendo Switch. Also, a shadow drop of a free-to-play Silent Hill spinoff for, I guess, I'm assuming PlayStation 5. And a hit game that some call indie, others say new. Dave the Diver, surprise hit last year, coming to PlayStation this year, in April specifically. And yeah, a lot of reveals. It's been pretty well received by fans, and I respect it. It was pretty good, showed a lot. I think there was a poll on YouTube in a channel's community tab. I think it actually was IGN. It was either IGN or SpawnWave, one of those two. Great. SpawnWave is a great YouTuber. Highly recommended for video gaming and technology. And I think that was the one that said, "Oh, how would you rate the state of play?" And I think that most people gave it a B, and I think I gave it a B as well. I think it was a solid B, and not for bogus. What was pretty bogus to some haters legally was the fact that Palworld, which I talked about in my previous episode, and its craziness, everyone's buying into it. It's extremely popular, but there's controversy of possible AI use, possible similarities with Pokemon. I don't know if I mentioned this, but the Pokemon Company is apparently looking into the similarities with Palworld or something like that. Like, they've recognized that Palworld exists, and you would assume they'd have to. It sold millions and millions of units, and it's on Game Pass, and apparently it has broken a traffic record for Xbox Cloud Gaming, with huge wait times being a big problem. This pretty much confirms Palworld is going to be one of the biggest games of 2024. It's, we just entered February, and I'm certain it's already going to happen. According to Xbox, within the first 10 days of the initial release on Xbox Cloud Gaming platform, which, if you don't know, is part of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, where you can cloud stream games. Pretty much you can get Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, have access to all of the Xbox Game Pass titles, but you don't need an Xbox to play them, or even a PC. You can just stream them onto your phone. It's actually pretty cool tech. And of course, Microsoft being Microsoft, it's very well made and one of the best options for game streaming. I don't really need it, but it's always been something to consider. Within the first 10 days of its initial release, Palworld garnered the highest number of players for a day one release. On PC and console, the number ran past 7 million players. They weren't specific on how many joined in on the cloud, but it makes it clear traffic was heavy. Game itself is still under the Cloud Gaming Preview program, so certain bugs or issues are expected. Users noted wait times during that first initial release soared into the 35-minute area or worse. That's insane. Like, genuinely. Now, of course, again, Cloud Gaming Preview program, Xbox is going to likely continue to refine the experience, make it better, and this is a big positive for Palworld. I mean, people love it. Critics loved it. I really should jump into this because it's starting to look like a game I might have to jump into because it's finally something that's like Pokemon, also pretty good, but for PC and Xbox. It'd be really funny if this one day releases on Switch, but considering how much of a big impact it has on Xbox and PC, I think that's unlikely. So, speaking of Xbox, but more so Microsoft, not good news. A little bit of good, a little bit of bad. They have recently laid off 1,900 Activision Blizzard and Xbox employees, which is not great. It also ended in a survival game that was being developed by Blizzard being canceled. Reportedly, it was in development for a few years. The cuts work out to roughly 8% of the overall Microsoft gaming division. That stands at around 22,000 employees in total. An internal memo from Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer was obtained. And yeah, they say it's a painful decision. We'll continue to invest in areas, but it's always going to suck when something like this happens. Microsoft plans to name a new Blizzard president next week, as the Blizzard president Mike Ybarra, sorry if I said that wrong, Ybarra, decided to leave the company, and that is unfortunate. I actually don't know off the top of my head how good he is or not. Better than Bobby Kotick, I will say that for certainty. So yeah, it's, obviously it's very upsetting. Microsoft had big layoffs a year ago affecting 10,000 employees, so it's just a lot of people getting removed. Very disappointing. Job layoffs, cutoffs, all of them, they're just so sad, and sometimes unnecessary just to make more of a profit when you're already going to. It upsets me. It's very annoying. Speaking of annoying, otherwise known as Netflix, they just yesterday debuted their 2024 video game lineup, and it includes some pretty big possible hits, including ones based off of Rebel Moon, which was I think a film that released on Netflix that's very divided. I don't know if people like it, but I think critics were not huge fans of it. Virgin River, and of course, Squid Game. Yep, an official Squid game. That's just great. No release dates were set, but the lineup confirms they plan to launch each of these games within this year. Currently, there's 88 games available to play with Netflix. Major releases including Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals, Netflix Stories Love is Blind, and of course the big one, Grand Theft Auto, The Trilogy, The Definitive Edition. You're not going to have a third "the" in there? Come on. You easily could. The streamer continues to plan its plan to expand into gaming, a journey Netflix set out back in 2021. It has more than 90 games in various stages of development. So they're going all in on gaming. Is it going to work? Could it be like Apple Arcade, but just part of Netflix? Could it make me want to get back into Netflix in the future? We'll see for ourselves. One of the last things I'm going to talk about for video gaming is a very big game that was released, and there's not a whole lot of hubbub about it, except for not the best things. Server outages with the early access version, and a very interesting article on BBC, of all places, with the headline, "Where are the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League reviews?" So, the latest game by developer Rocksteady, creators of the acclaimed Batman Arkham series, not a great start. Early previews have been less than positive, including a preview by IGN where they said it had been refused a review copy. Most journalists only received the codes Tuesday when the online game servers were switched on. So, of course, if you're reputable, you don't want to just immediately release a half-butt review. You want to take your time. So, of course, they're taking their time. So, reviews are very little. IGN themselves pointed out the publisher, Warner Bros. Games, was under no obligation to send it free copy, but usually websites and streamers receive advanced copies so that they can have more time to work on it just moments before the game officially releases. That's not what happened. But, the previews weren't terrible, but they weren't great. So, a game that was expected to shake up the industry with the brand of Suicide Squad is just okay as of now. So, obviously very disappointing. The enhanced deluxe versions that have been releasing with early access have had server issues. I think I read somewhere they gave $20 of in-game currency to people that bought the new version. Very just to make up for hey, sorry, no refunds, by the way, LOL. Although, of course, depending on where you are, maybe a refund is allowed. And that's going to be it for entertainment and video gaming, technology, all of it, except for the one thing, and it's going to be a quick one. We want to get always into futurology, and it's a pretty big one involving NASA. And this is very new, published an hour ago. NASA's next-generation ISS spacesuit has passed the zero-gravity test. So former astronauts tested out this new spacesuit by Collins Aerospace on a parabolic flight. Sorry if I said that wrong, simulating weightlessness of space. The whole fiasco with NASA and trying to get people back on the moon has been kind of a mixed bag. They're really trying, but they don't have the funding to be fast. And then, things flop here and there. While SpaceX is trying to catch up. But North Carolina-based Collins Aerospace has completed a key milestone in development for a new generation spacesuit meant for use aboard the International Space Station. It comes as NASA's Exploration Extravehicular Activity Services, or XEVAS, contract was valued at $97.2 million and was awarded to Collins Aerospace December 2022. Can't say last year. Cannot say last year. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited for that. Updated suits are woefully overdue. The pressing need stems from the challenges posed by the current EMUs, extravehicular mobility units, which have been in use for over 40 years. My goodness. Well, I'm glad they're working on it, and I respect that they are. Of course, they, in my opinion, are underfunded, but also not great use with their money. But I feel like that's getting a little political by accident. I apologize. And that'll be it for me. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I try to be efficient. A whole lot happened in the past week and a few days, so I'm glad I got this down to what it looks like just over 40 minutes. But of course, I truncate it where I can, and we'll see. Maybe it's under 40. But thank you all for listening and tuning in. I appreciate it. Make sure to always keep up to date with thefreshwire.com for when I eventually start posting articles on there, maybe even some reviews. Just haven't gotten around to it. Again, I'm sorry. And that's it for me. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you all have a good one, and I will catch you all around the next one. Till then, take care of yourselves, and one last time, have a darn good one. Have a good day, night, evening, afternoon, or day, wherever you are, however you live. See you around. Peace.